I want to start with last year with you. You come up late in the year, September, make your debut in the middle of a playoff push for the Houston Astros. Well, maybe not much of a push because they were already in, but I digress. In the middle of a playoff push, right before the playoffs, you make your debut in September against the Rangers. I think it was 6 innings, no runs. It was nasty. What do you remember about that day, coming up in September and making your big league debut?
Yeah, so I mean, obviously, most people say dream come true, blah blah blah,
Yeah.
that whole 9 yards. But actually, I had Anthony Bass, who was a alumni of Wayne State, which is where I went to college. He texted me that morning and he said, "Hey man, no matter how today goes, like you're gonna forever be a big leaguer after today. So just go out there and just let it eat, kind of thing."
Mhm.
So that was like the start of my day where it kind of helped me like just get into the moment and get into like, hey man, I'm just about to, pitch another game, make another start here. It just so happens to be in the big league. So, he kind of helped lead me into a good frame of mind. But then like, before it was just everything that you think of and
Yeah.
everything that you dream of. The lights are big and bright, and the adrenaline's running high, and you just kind of you get that fulfillment of like, hey man, I've been working for however long, and here we are.
And it wasn't that much longer, really, into your big league career when you're pitching in game one of the playoffs for the Astros against the Mariners. Honestly, a great series. Every game was pretty close for the most part. Obviously, game three, you pitched in that as well. But game one, you're tasked with coming in out of the bullpen and pitching in that game. Where are the nerves at then?
Yeah, so um I kind of knew my role was going to be like maybe what my pocket was going to be, and then obviously where maybe the game was going to be if we had a little bit bigger lead, or down by a little bit more. So it was kind of, I think it was 7-4 at the time, and that phone rings. I'm like, oh man, here we go, it might be me. And sure enough, Brownie get going. So um yeah, it's just like I said, the adrenaline spike. It was probably bigger than my debut, but that's also probably in part to being in the bullpen. Um, everything kind of just happens a little bit quicker out there. You don't have quite your own pace and routine where you can kind of get going. It's just like, hey man, fire it up and get out there. So, but that was awesome. I mean, the crowd here in Houston, unbelievable. Um, and yeah, I mean, you're pitching big league playoff baseball. It doesn't get much better than that.
And then you got to pitch in that 17 inning 0-0 ball game. You threw 2 innings. I don't even remember which 2 innings you pitched. It was later in the game. Was it, I mean, were you expecting to pitch in that game, or was it kind of like, we're running out of guys, Hunter, we need you?
Yeah, it started, you kind of, the phone keeps ringing and ringing and ringing, and then, you're like, you look around in the bullpen, you're like, oh man, there's only a couple of us left here, so I'm probably gonna get another shot. And the Mariners fans let me know how much I was probably gonna blow that game warming up in that bullpen out there. But we ended up coming out on top, and that was, I mean, that day was crazy. That was probably, I mean, that was the craziest game I've ever been a part of. It was 0-0 till the 18th inning, and I don't even know how many hours it took, but that place was jumping for the entirety of it. So it was
That's
it was great.
that's what I was gonna. Normally in a regular season, a game is 0-0 into the 17th, and everybody's miserable. Both teams just want it to end. But obviously, playoffs, it's a completely different scenario. It was the first playoff game in Seattle in over 21 years. Obviously, the game means everything. I mean, that place had to be going insane during that game.
Oh yeah, I mean that was. I thought that day was like the loudest of any in the well, maybe not the World Series where when Jordan put us up at home to pretty much seal the deal, but that was right there with it. With
Wow.
just an ongoing roar for just hours and hours. It was great, man.
You end up pitching once in the ALCS against the Yankees, and then World Series happens. You guys end up winning the World Series. Have you ever, or did you at this time, step back and think, I've been a big leaguer for like 60 days. I've made my debut. I've pitched in the playoffs. I've won a World Series. Should this be happening?
Yeah, I think you definitely ask yourself that, and then It was actually probably like the second or third game of the World Series. I was looking back, like, okay, we didn't win any conference titles when I was at school, and then we won the AAA league
Yeah.
one year that I was there. I was like, man, the first real thing I'm gonna win is gonna be the World Series, which is pretty incredible. Like,
That's
so that
insane.
was crazy.